to night 3 of Rockingham County Government Citizens Academy. We're so glad that you're joining us, and we have this evening several departments who will be talking with the participants. We have Human Resources, Safety Risk Management, Legal, Information Technology, and the Public Information Office. There will also be a real different type of video that the students will watch in order to understand what we do behind the scenes in operations for Rockingham County government.
Welcome, and my name is Mark Holzer. I'm the Safety and Risk Manager for Rockingham County, and our topic tonight will be a tragedy occurs at the governmental stairway, and the question is, what would you do if you were in our role?
Once upon an afternoon dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping on the wall at the elevator door. Standing there per regulations, plastered with piles and piles of boxes, there impatiently awaiting on the wall of the elevator door, stood Lenore, stood Lenore, stood Lenore. Ladies and gentlemen, Lenore had learned from safety and risk management training how to properly dispose of huge IT boxes and equipment. She was well acquainted with all the special policies and procedures outlining how to prevent hurdles and hassles. But unfortunately, on this particular day, the rare and radiant Lenore got tired of waiting on the wall of the elevator door, so she could not wait no more, so Lenore skipped the rules, waiting on the wall of the elevator door, and started down the string of steps leading to the Rockingham County Governmental Center lobby. She got halfway down smiling when the height of the tall IT boxes prevented her from seeing little Joe Doe running up the steps in search of vending machines. The innocent little Joe Doe was in search of a candy bar and had no intentions of being on the steps right in front of the rare and radiant Lenore, Not seeing little Joe Doe and thinking her steps were still clear, Lenore accidentally bumped into the little fellow. First, all the big boxes bounced down the steps into the lobby, and then rare and radiant Lenore came tumbling after. And the rare and radiant Lenore became an infamous character in Rockingham County historical lore. Like Humpty Dumpty, Lenore stood by a wall. Like Humpty Dumpty, Lenore had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty nor Lenore back together again. After the rare and radiant Lenore tumbled down into the lobby, guess who was the first on the scene?
There's no need to fear. Officer Tinker T is here. County 125 to CCOM. Could you please have the EMS proceed to Rockingham County Governmental Center, reference they fall down the steps?
Detective Tinker immediately called 911 for medical help, started a thorough investigation, and called the Safety Risk Manager, the Assistant County Manager HR Director, the County Attorney, the Information Technology Services Director, and the Public Information Officer.
We've got work to do.
What would you do?
The county attorney is handing out a piece of paper that is part of the Rockingham County personnel policy that describes the responsibilities for the personnel officer in Rockingham County. The term personnel officer is synonymous with that of human resources director in a local government. Rockingham County's personnel system has been deemed by the state of North Carolina to be substantially equivalent to the personnel system of the state of North Carolina. That means that we do not have to ask the state very much about how we administer the personnel policies for Rockingham County. Human Resources is responsible for the classification and pay of all the positions within this county government. We're responsible for the recruitment, selection, programs to retain, any kind of disciplinary process that may have to happen, employee benefits. The risk manager and safety person reports to the HR director. So we have the full responsibility for the human resources function for the 640 full-time permanent positions within Rockingham County government and several hundred part-time temporary positions.
Yeah, my name is Mark Holzer. I'm the safety and risk manager and also a wellness coordinator. My primary responsibilities, very briefly, is to keep our employees safe, provide a safe work environment, and provide a safe facility for the public and keep our public facilities safe. In the unlikely event of any occurrences, then we collect and do investigations to make sure that they're properly and professionally handled. Questions? Yes, sir.
How do you keep the police safe?
How do I
That's what you said, didn't you? You keep the police safe?
keep the public safe? Try to provide a safe environment for our public coming across our properties.
Yes, sir. Do you, do you bring in outside investigative or remedial help whenever it's necessary, that people that don't necessarily work in your department but would report to you on an ad hoc basis to investigate or to assist in certain critical things like
The question, I think the question is, would I use any outside agencies or third party to help me conduct an investigation, help settle something in the event of an unlikely occurrence? It would be very rare. I would say if there was a very, very, very serious vehicle accident involving deaths or something very serious injuries, there may be a third party involved with the investigation, but generally working with the expertise of our insurance agents and the consultants that they would provide, we can handle those internally. Good question, thank you. Yes, Ms. Bass.
Could you explain to us exactly what does good safety and good exercise and good healthy employees, does that affect attendance, or how does this work together?
That's a good question, Mr. Bass, thank you. If you all know the workforce is aging. I just read recently, by 2020, about a third of our workforce is going to be in their 60s. And because of our aging, we're not quite as healthy. We're not 20-year-olds any longer. So me playing a role as a wellness coordinator is trying to inspire people to take care of themselves, not because it's important for them to be healthy, but they owe it to their families. And their families want them to be around a long time. Also, they're very important to the county because they're professionals and they have a lot of experience. And to lose someone in the unlikely event of a serious injury, maybe because there was a health condition that could have been preventable, then because of a health condition that maybe if they would have taken better care of themselves, then it really plays hand in hand. And over the years, the last several years, we found that there have been quite a lot of improvements in that area. Thank you, Mr. Bass. Yes, sir.
From what you're saying, people like some banks, they have people that work in the bank, they have to keep their weight at a certain level. I don't know what their incentives are to keep it that way, but they do that. Do you do that with your?
Well, we're not into mandates. We have inspirational programs where we do recognitions and token awards for outstanding performance and things like that. So it's not a mandate that somebody has to be a particular weight or remove a condition. First of all, that would be, I believe that's illegal to do. But the idea is, it's not, we care about our people, we're family here. And so we know that their families love them and they love their families. So trying to bring that, how important they are to us and their families, we're using that to inspire them to really, really care, and how important that is to them to stay healthy. Questions? Didn't think I'd give many questions about wellness as much as safety, but very good questions. And actually, to be honest with you, our employees have been very, very inspired and very pleased with our wellness program, and the results have been showing. So, and I spend about half my time in the wellness activities, and it's rewarding to me, very rewarding to me when I see people and they come to me and say how proud they are themselves.
Good evening. I am Eugene Russell. I'm the Rockingham County Attorney. It's a position I've held since October 1st of 1987. Rockingham County has a county attorney position that's a full-time position. In North Carolina, counties are required to have county attorneys. They're not required to be full-time. Some of the larger counties have attorneys in-house. Some of the initiative of doing that, it gives you a chance to help the departments as they administer their programs, help them get on the right track, comply with the laws. Virtually every department we have, because we're in local government, has a body of law that applies to them. And then there are the same kind of laws that apply to any business. And as county attorney, that's a position that's appointed by the Board of Commissioners. The attorney serves at what's called at the pleasure of the board. So it's not a tenured thing. As attorney, I provide advice to the commissioners. That's technically who my client is. But I also provide advice and counsel to the various departments and employees and help them fulfill their role and responsibilities. I'm a department head, so I manage the day-to-day activities of the department. If the county does employ an outside counsel for any reason, then I coordinate that. When you have somebody to sort of supervise and manage the work of an attorney, it's just an additional skill to have if you're also an attorney to evaluate the job that they're doing. I, of course, work with all of the agencies of the county to help them comply with state, federal, local law. A county is an interesting thing. A county and county commissioners, they serve many roles. They're sometimes a judge. They have to act like a judge. Often they're administrators, like the three branches of government. They carry out the law. And they do something that's very interesting, also legislative. Commissioners can make laws within certain boundaries. The state gives them authority, and they can make laws within those authorities. So they serve all three of those, and that's something I help with. Give opinions to the commissioners about their actions, whether they comply with the law, help them stay abreast and understand current issues. There are times that as an attorney I go to court. We go to court to sue people, and we go to court to defend suits. Also, it's like an inside counsel for a corporation. We deal with personnel matters. We deal with contracts. We negotiate contracts with people, the purchase of property, negotiate a contract with a state agency, negotiate a contract with a city. So basically what I do is I advocate on behalf of the county in a variety of matters. The sheet that I handed out points out the departmental mission that says that, and it points out the description of our services. And also on the back, I was going to point out that it's sort of, you can put in words what it is that a legal department does, but sometimes it's good to give some examples. So I thought it would be good to make a list there that gives a sample of the legal matters that we worked on in the last fiscal year for 12 months. And I won't go over all of those, but if you look at that list on the back, you can see in economic development, the county has an economic development partnership of the private citizens, the cities, and the county. Often the legal work that's done in drafting those instruments and some of the negotiation is something my office handles, and that lists some of the businesses in the last 12 months that we have worked out arrangements with. The second thing on the list is emergency services 911 communications. Had the opportunity to work with each of the cities in the county and representing the county too in establishing what was called an interlocal agency to establish a new 911 communications center. The state, that's something the state wanted. They mandated higher standards. Previous to that, the city of Reidsville and the city of Eden had their own. And but by going together, we helped achieve some standards. That's something they want to happen all across the state. And they wanted it to happen so much that they put some money up for anybody that would be willing to do it. And when that grant was announced, all the good folks in the cities, the folks we had working for the county, the commissioners, the elected folks, we really pulled together and we were able to get a grant that was $7.8 million. And of course, that's a lot of money, but at the same time for the state, they felt like that this serves the interests of the citizens, because when each city had their own communication center, they used that little tax you pay on your phone bill. I don't know if y'all have noticed, 75 cents a month. And basically the state board wanted there not to be so many people asking for money out of it. They're trying to get one per county. And there were only 2 grants given, and this county was one of those in the initial cycle. I worked, of course, with the planning, zoning inspections. With the sheriff, we give the sheriff's advice about execution of judgments and other activities. One of those things is noise control ordinance, animal control violations. Both of those are examples of local laws that the commissioners passed. They were ones that were in authority given by the state legislature, but they're ones that were passed. Worked with bringing legislation before the General Assembly. Library was something that's sort of mundane, is helping collect fines and materials. It sounds like a thing we'd be working on, but when people don't bring those materials back, that sometimes can cost the other citizens, $500–600. And so we've helped do that. We do work with the tax department, something, would help them collect taxes from time to time, and that sounds like an onerous thing to do, but, the citizens that do pay their taxes certainly expect the other citizens to pay those, and we work to help get those collections where they should be. And you can see the number of contracts, about 225 contracts that we worked with code enforcement, solid waste enforcement, worked with risk management. That's Mark Holzer that just spoke. Worked with the fire marshal. One thing we did in the past 12 months is we moved to a new contract for all of the volunteer fire departments in the county and tried to get that on a new basis that it needed to be on. And the last example I want to give is on the schools. It's kind of interesting. Sometimes people, and you'll learn, of course, in the sessions you're coming to, how there's a lot of entities, but they have separate roles. And the school board's separately elected, but they can't levy any taxes, not in this state. Some states they can. And so when they needed new school buildings, this is something the county works with them on, and so we help them finance school buildings. And that's a situation I don't want to go into much. I know Mabel's watching me on my time, but the state doesn't have, with this bad economy, they don't have the money they did have, and so they used to help some with the buildings of schools, and they've removed some of those funds. And so what we did was refinance and sort of took advantage of a bad thing by getting a lower interest rate. And there was savings of about $2.8 million for the citizens. And that's the kind of thing, like I say, I'm here a lot to help other people do important things. But I do see, that's an example, the $2.8 million saved helps the schools pay their bills. And so I'll be glad to try to answer some questions. Okay, well, I hope that means I told you a few things. But through the night, if you have some more questions, I'm here and be glad to try to answer them.
So, my name's David Wicker. I'm the Chief Information Officer for Rockingham County, and what that means is we oversee the computers. How many of you, it's funny, technology, it touches everything today, and it just like, a moment ago with the mics and the screens here and everything, we're kind of like a behind-the-scenes department, if you will. We're what's known as an internal services department. To get down in the weeds of things, our mission is to provide information technology resources that enable the delivery of quality public services. So if we do our job, all the departments that are more public facing can do their job and serve the citizens. How many of you in here have computer frustrations or technology frustrations just at your house? It's frustrating, right? Now, multiply that by greater than equal to roughly 800 people that have to do their job. They rely on that same technology like you have at your home. But not only that, it's mobile devices, radios, you know, iPads, TV screens. I mean, there's so many things that you don't think about as long as it's working. It's like you never have a problem with your car until it doesn't start, and then you realize how valuable it was. So we kind of perform those technology services behind the scenes, and 911, police, social services, tax, animal, legal, they can effectively do their job, and when a frustration, you know, arises, they contact us and we kind of go out and we try to make sure that, you know, things stay running effectively, and we try to make sure, you know, we're up to date as possible given budget constraints and things like that. I come from the private sector, so government's new to me. I've been here about 2.5 years. It's good that you guys are getting involved in this, because before I came here, you know, you just don't know a whole lot about local government until you may need one of the services. So I think it's very educational. I'll keep it short and sweet because Eugene took all my time. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
You say the technology.
Yes, sir.
So, what, is that for the whole county, this area?
Well,
I mean, is there a tower for your output?
right. So it's for, you know, it's for the county to be able to operate. So any county building, any public service, fire truck, ambulance, you know, tax, radios. I mean, you know, we kind of touch anything technology that enables the county to serve the citizens. So it would be from a county perspective. But sometimes we do assist citizens, you know, when necessary. I feel like I'm preaching a sermon.
I have a problem with the cell phone. They say I'm in a moderate area.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, with all your technology for the county that you use, that it would feed off of your, let me get the word right. The signal will feed off of yours to all the mobile carriers or whatever. That doesn't work like that?
Not so much. That's privatized business. So, I mean, that would be like a Verizon wire. It would be out of our control.
Right.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Does each municipality have someone similar to you doing what you're doing locally, city of Eden, Reedsville, etc.?
Certainly. I mean, it depends on the size. You know, you take like a Stoneville, you know, probably not. They would have to contract just as needed. Eden does. Reedsville has a few people. You know, we have more based on the size, and of course, just like the city of Greensboro, that, you know, they have about 50. I mean, it depends on the location, but the bigger, probably the better chance that there's going to be someone. But I do know that Eden and Reedsville have someone on site.
Now, how big is your department? How many people fall under your supervision?
So I oversee the Information Technology Services Department and the GIS Department, which would be the Geographical Information System. So it would be a total fully staffed of about 11. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Does your department oversee the administration of communications-related contracts, like internet or wireless services or whatever the county might have? Do you actually administer those contracts as well?
Yes, sir.
Aside from the hardware?
Well, you know, that's a good question, because then there's certain things, and this kind of gives you an idea of what goes on internally. You know,
who sees that we're getting all the bits and bytes and stuff that we're paying for?
I would be like a consultant. I would make sure the technology piece, but then when it comes to actually legally binding the county into some type contract, I would work alongside legal to make sure. But the technology portion, we would oversee that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
After managing IT for many years before this present time, this past week, how much were you having to be called in, or your department called in to handle issues? Just to give everybody an idea. You're on call 24/7, technically, right?
We are. I mean, mainly when our 24/7 services are needed. If public health is open kind of a little bit, past 5, but of course commissioner meetings, the biggest one would be 911 services. The sheriff's department, the jail, there's always something going on there. So we would be called in after hours for that. But, you know, during the day, you know, it varies. I mean, we could get called, you know, we have a ticketing system and we're dispatched. I mean, you know, we have buildings all over the, you know, the county. So it just varies. We stay busy though. There's never a lack of technology. Someone needing assistance. I mean, it's demanding, but you know, it's good to feel needed. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Are you responsible for the emergency alert?
No, sir. That would be the emergency, I guess, management department, and it depends on what type, you know, of alerts you're talking about. But that would more be emergency services. Now, we may assist with getting those alerts out, but we don't oversee any type of emergency alerts.
My name is Mabel Scott. I'm the Public Information Officer, and what do I do? Everything. I love it. Communicate, that's right. We communicate. The Public Information Office is responsible for internal and external communications. So that means when people inside know what's going on, what can they do? Be walking billboards when they're out in the community and see you at church or at social functions or hear some misinformation. They can be a spokesperson for the county to tell the good news. And that's one of the big things that we try to do in our office is share the good news about Rockingham County government. Our departments all provide many fantastic services for you, the citizens. And they are doing so many good things, it's almost impossible for us to share everything. What we try to do is utilize our website, social media, work very closely with our news media to disseminate as much good information as possible. If there are problems or challenges or issues, it's also our job to get that information out and to share and disseminate information that's accurate, up to date, and truthful. We are more of a support unit. We work as a team with all the people, all the department heads here. We don't write anything, we don't do anything until we first work within the team, meaning the county manager, the department heads who you've already met, and the other ones that you will meet through the rest of this series. We do radio, TV interviews. You will see things on Facebook, on Twitter. How many of you all use Facebook? We'd love for you to like Rockingham County government. How many of you use Twitter? Okay. What about YouTube? Please check out YouTube and look at some of the videos we have out there. And what about Flickr? We have a number of photos out there. In addition, we work on crisis communications, but again, we work as a team. We cannot work in a silo by ourselves. The other part of our job involves community outreach, community education, information, and engagement. And I'd like to thank you for helping us with our goals to support the county commissioner's goals and objectives. You are one of the main goals for this year, the Citizens Academy. So thank you for helping me to do my job, Citizens Academy. Also, we help with executive speech writing and research. We work out in the community. We provide technical assistance for all the departments, and we will also be working closely with HR later on this year in providing some staff development opportunities for all of the departments here in county government. Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
How big is your department?
That's a wonderful question. Please listen, Mr. HR. We are one, we are one. One in the spirit. We're one person, and so that's why we're very eager to get you graduated, because we hope that you all can help us. But we do have a lot of support from people. See the people back there? Tina and Pam and Tinker and all the folks who've already presented. Roy Sawyers helps us a lot with work with RCENO, the news media, and many other people here on staff who get excited about some of the things we're doing, like United Way. We get a lot of volunteer support. But basically, it's just, you know, whoever we can kind of say, we need some help. But we're very thankful to all of those volunteers like Miss Massey, who's helped us every time.
Once upon an afternoon dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping on the wall at the elevator door. Standing there per regulations, plastered with piles and piles of boxes, there impatiently awaiting on the wall of the elevator door, stood Lenore, stood Lenore, stood Lenore. Ladies and gentlemen, Lenore had learned from safety and risk management training how to properly dispose of huge IT boxes and equipment. She was well acquainted with all the special policies and procedures outlining how to prevent hurdles and hassles. But unfortunately, on this particular day, the rare and radiant Lenore got tired of waiting on the wall of the elevator door, so she could not wait no more, so Lenore skipped the rules, waiting on the wall of the elevator door, and started down the string of steps leading to the Rockingham County Governmental Center lobby. She got halfway down smiling when the height of the tall IT boxes prevented her from seeing little Joe Doe running up the steps in search of vending machines. The innocent little Joe Doe was in search of a candy bar and had no intentions of being on the steps right in front of the rare and radiant Lenore, the rare and radiant Lenore. Not seeing little Joe Doe and thinking her steps were still clear, Lenore accidentally bumped into the little fellow. First, all the big boxes bounced down the steps into the lobby, and then rare and radiant Lenore came tumbling after. Lenore came tumbling after, and the rare and radiant Lenore became an infamous character in Rockingham County historical lore. Like Humpty Dumpty, Lenore stood by a wall. Like Humpty Dumpty, Lenore had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty nor Lenore back together again. After the rare and radiant Lenore tumbled down into the lobby, guess who was the first on the scene?
There's no need to fear. Officer Tinker T is here. County 125 to CCOM. Could you please have the EMS proceed to Rockingham County Governmental Center, reference state fall down the steps?
Detective Tinker immediately called 911 for medical help, started a thorough investigation, and called the safety risk manager, the assistant county manager, HR director, the county attorney, the information technology services director, and the public information officer.
We've got work to do.
What would you do?
What would you do? We're going to count off now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and break into groups. One group will be the second group will be with the safety risk manager. Group number 3 will be with legal. Group number 4 will be with IT, and group number 5 will be with PIO, Public Information Officer. And whoever you are with, then you will try to decide, how do I solve this crisis? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. First of all, accident happened. So the first thing we're going to do is tend to the victim/victim. Little boy could have been hurt too, so we're going to make sure he's okay as well as our employee. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to contact the ID department, tell them that you've got a person that's gotten hurt. Third thing we're going to do is we're going to monitor that employee while they're out. they could be out for quite a while. We don't know how serious the accident was, but we're going to monitor, make sure that everything's, all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted to make sure that she gets the care that she needs. OSHA investigation will be started. If there's a day out of work, you have to start an investigation, and that will be with us, but it'll still have to be started because of workman's comp. Notify the county attorney next to see if any legal matters has to be taken care of at that time. We're going to investigate the accident. We're going to find the cause of the trip. We're going to find any extenuating circumstances. What can be changed? Is there a policy that is already in existence, or do we need to make one? We're going to try, if not, engineering out. Was this her job? Why was she there? Was she doing it because she just wanted to quickly get this over with? We're going to inform the county manager of the results of our investigation. We're going to we're going to ask that a memo be sent out by Mark reminding of what not to do as well as what to do in that situation. Family Leave Act may come into this. We're going to monitor until she gets back to work. If we're going to discipline if needed, we're going to have a document of written warning with this. If any other failures result, there could be disciplinary action taken, and that's what we're going to do.
Our department's risk management, as Ms. Scott said, each department has to work together, and each department plays off of each other. As with our department, the first thing we do is both parties are assessed, the child and as well as the employee that was injured. And we make sure that all medical care is provided as well as follow-up care is provided. It is important to make sure that we get all information on both parties involved in case there is further follow-up needed. You know, we're able to contact them. We do a scene size up of the area. Basically, we assess the area, make sure there's nothing that caused the accident, you know, frayed carpet, broken handrails, broken elevator, any of the above. We ask the 5 W's and H, who, what, when, where, and why, how, and make sure all questions are answered. Also, look to any witnesses in the situation. Get a thorough statement from them as well as their information so we can follow up with them in case we have future questions. IT would play a big part in this, cameras that we may need to assess the situation, as well as you know, what her role was that day, because she was in the IT department. You know, was she doing what she was supposed to do, or she just went off on her own little tangent. The next thing we do is, based off our investigation, recommend ways to prevent the incident from happening again. As with you guys, we would, you know, send a memo out stating, you know, this is what happened and how do we prevent it for future ones. Also, go over safety issues. You know, there's hand carts and safety already set in place, so this wouldn't have happened. So we just review it with that department again, as well as other departments. Also, go into ways to improve our investigation skills. If there was no camera set up, can we get camera set up? And anything else to help improve our investigation. Last, we would definitely share information with each department. People are nosy. They're going to call and ask Mabel, what happened? Who happened? Why did it happen? She needs the information to be able to present it right. She also needs to be able to talk to the attorney to find out what is appropriate to say, not to share information that would be damaging to the county as well as damaging to the employee or the child that was involved. Human resources would need to know so they know how to handle their employee, and IT would need to know so we have future things set up in place so IT can handle their investigations as well as help offer ways to prevent this from happening again. That's it.
As we have a tendency, now that we live in a fairly litigious society, we want to make sure that we communicate things and that things are done properly. And first and foremost, we want to talk about employee wellness and also the wellness of the general population. We want the place to be one where people feel invited to come, and that while they're there, they're going to be safe. And from the legal standpoint, we want to make sure that we have everything set up to make it happen. We want to make sure that we follow the normal chain of command to allow the people in human resources to do what they need to do, to make sure that risk management has done a thorough investigation, and then after consultation with those, at least at minimum, those two groups, we then look at and see what do we have here. Is this an employee situation? Is this a community situation? Is this a procedural lapse? Is there some kind of negligence or liability where the county is at fault? We want to make sure that we check all these things out thoroughly and talk to the various departments to make sure that we are in fact guilt-free as possible. Well, we want to also make sure that as we're consulting with risk management and with HR, that we make sure that if we do in fact have procedures set up, that we follow them and that we have some kind of recourse to talk to the injured party, who in this particular instance apparently did not follow procedure. But at the same time, we don't want at one time, on one hand, have a situation where she didn't follow procedure and she may be injured, but we really don't want to go and set any negative thoughts in the employee's mind that there might be a reason to seek compensation from the county as a result of us not having procedures thoroughly communicated and set up properly. So the idea here is that we look at what's written there, but then we try to speak to the employee to make sure that we're one happy family, and that family includes the young man that got away from his parents and went willy-nilly up the stairs. The child didn't appear to be injured. However, we want to make sure that there is in fact follow-through. Now, that wouldn't necessarily fall under the legal standpoint, but if that's not taken care of by risk management or something, then that has the potential of it becoming a legal issue. So we want to make sure that all the players, all the parties that are involved take care of what they need to be doing. We talked about what might be involved with negligence and the various of who might be negligent, but the bottom line is that we don't want it to go that far. We want to make sure that we have an event, that we have a beginning, that we have the event, and then it's neatly tied up and that things are taken care of accordingly. Thank you.
Here at the IT department, as the chief information officer, he would have been notified of the fall because Lenore was his employee, and his first concern upon arriving on the scene would to verify her condition and the child's, and if they were hurt. And as part of the investigation would begin, and the IT director and department would be asked to provide a video, if it's available, of the fall and if there were any witnesses. He would also ask why the employee was carrying the boxes versus maybe using a hand truck as she was trained. Was this something she did on her own, or was she following policy or not following policy? What happened to the information in the box? Was it secured? What happened after it was spilled out? Was it something that needed to be secured immediately? The IT department would be asked to help support the other departments in technology information to investigate. They would participate in reevaluating the safety policy and asking what could be done to correct or to avoid what they call a near miss or an accident. Once the policy would be revised, the IT department would be responsible for getting this information out to all county employees on how to avoid this in the future. And then they would return in their report to any of the county manager of their investigation. Any questions? Thank you.
Sharon, that was a very technical report. Short, sweet, and straight to the point. To be in the same nature, one thing that we would be as the PIO officers or the officers team is we're very happy to see the internal communication that is going on. We're ensuring that all of the managers, all of the departments are fully communicating. Ultimately, our biggest emphasis would be to help HR, if they desire it, to remind that this is an internal personal matter and that any questions need to be referred to PIO as well as human resources. IT is going to obviously get questions, and I would do my best to try to take heat off of you if we could. But also at the same time, remember that y'all did cover the idea of getting in contact with the family, following up with that. That's an excellent idea. That was one of the concerns that we had, was who would be doing that. Obviously, we'd be going with the legal department to make sure that works. The biggest takeaway that we had was dealing with our initial support of internal assistance to all the department heads. Ultimately, with that internal assistance, then we would be backing out to the external. What we would be communicating is very limited, very easy to remember, and that is that first of all, if the team determines that there needs to be a public statement necessary, our office would be there to assist in that. The only information that we would be giving out would be directory information, which would be employee's name, title, pay scale, and department, and that's if the reporters ask for that, for directory information. And then typically, only if there is a release beyond that, we would be directing the individuals to the county manager's office and allowing that to be working through that, because the county manager is a central point of contact, and we would work to assist the county manager in that. Ultimately, our goal is to be an excellent point of contact for internal and external, but beyond that initial support and assistance with internal communication and then backing out to the very limited external, our desire is to make it easy for the people, both inside the county government as well as the people of the county that support the county government. That's all we have.
I'm going to ask everybody if you would just stand up. Stand up. And if you got something in your hands, put it down, because you're going to have to use your hands. Why don't you give yourselves a round of applause?